Hi, everyone. This is Fisayo, and thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Highlighting Greatness with Fisayo. And today I've got a very special honor to have one of my very good friends on the podcast, on the show. This is Dr. Osagie. uh, my man, say what's up to the people.
How's everybody doing? I hope y'all having a great day. I know watch us at night, but I really appreciate Fasai you bringing me on here to talk with you. It's a interesting title of the podcast, Hiding Greatness. I don't know what kind of greatness I got, but I'm used to talk to me.
Hey, thank you, man. It's just a little background. Me and Osage have been very good friends. We probably met in high school or something, right? We through
Yeah.
church, and we we were in the same kind of like youth groups and stuff like that. Same church. I know you. I know the family. You know mine.
Yep.
We definitely been down for 15,
Uh,
17 years, something like that. Um, but yeah, man, we're definitely very close. We went through very similar struggles. We went through very similar paths. Um, Me, pharmacy, you, medicine. Um, but why don't we, before we get into all of that, why don't you just give a little background on, I guess, yourself, who you are, and things like for those who don't know you.
sure. I'm Sage Gile, like Saya said, and Amanda loves God. Uh, I am finishing up my residency right now, and I'm looking forward to starting the next chapter of my life.
Awesome. Hey, congratulations. You graduated already, right? You finished up the
Yeah,
residency already, right?
yeah, we had like the graduation ceremony. I still got a couple of weeks or so, like a few shifts to do till we, can be officially done. And I can have a little bit of a break before I start my next job.
Hey, bro. Congrats, man.
Thanks, man.
Um, so me and you really, started getting got close when after high school, we both went off to undergrad. You know, you went to Duke, I went to UT. You know, I gotta say it, bro. I mean,
Go ahead, go ahead, see what
you know, you couldn't. Yeah, I understand you couldn't really get into a good school like UT, but you went for the next best thing. Went to Duke.
Oh man.
Welcome. But shout out to, is it the Blue Devils? What is it?
It's Blues. Y'all should know, man. I mean, I think last time, actually, when I was in school, JJ Redick like dropped 41 on UT or something.
Oof. That wasn't when we had Durant, I'm sure.
Nah, I think y'all had like PJ Tucker was like your star player that year or
Oh
something like.
yeah. We had PJ. We had man, I can't remember the guy's name before before Durant got on, but yeah, man. So both went to amazing schools. Uh, Came back home, and that's kind of when we linked up more, and just we were in very similar situations. I just We just both graduated, and didn't get into pharmacy school that year, even though that's what I was going for. You didn't get into medical school that year either.
That was actually like a year later, because when
Okay.
I knew I was going to take some time off before I applied, and so I got back and I was looking for a job, and I was having a really hard time finding a job. Um, I was a culture anthropology major in college. Also had minors in biology and chemistry because I knew I was going to apply to med school. But
Okay.
I took time off to like study for the MCAT, took that, did well, and then I tried to find a job and just having a real hard time. This when hooked up with you.
That's right. I was at CVS working as a technician because I was trying to get into pharmacy school, and maybe I told you or something, and you were like, hey, you know, you were trying to get a job, and so I I don't know if I just told you about Mr. Bobby, who was my pharmacist at that point, or if I gave you his number. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah, you told about Mr. Bobby, and you gave me his contact info. And it was kind of like a step back for me. Like we're talking about, coming from a school like dude, like my friends are doing amazing things, and I'm over here trying to get a job and can't get one. I was looking for like more of a research job, but just couldn't find an opening. And this really taught me that you need to know people to get where you're trying to go. And so just wasn't having any luck. And I reached back to high school because I had taken like the pharmacy tech certification test actually as a senior in high school and passed it, but I never worked as a pharm tech. And so I remembered that I was like, hey, let me do it again. So I took that test again, passed, and then I was applying for pharmacy jobs. But I couldn't get any, and then you gave me Mr. Bobby's contact info, and the rest is history.
Yeah, man. So we were we were working at CVS and just really grinding it out, those days. What was your experience working at CVS? Because we were at a really unique store. You
That's one way to
remember?
put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the CVS pharmacy I worked at was probably in the richest neighborhood in Houston.
Yep.
And so we had all kinds of people coming through. I probably can't name any names because of HIPAA, but
Nah.
but it was really interesting. I think even before it jumped to like customers and stuff, I think our coworkers were really interesting people. Talking with different pharmacists, I made good connections with all the pharm techs there. Like I actually talk about them right now. I'm thinking like I need to reconnect with those people because they're great people, and you just kind of form a family. Struggling through the grind that was the CVS work shift.
Yeah.
And on pills, dealing with rude customers, dealing with rude doctors, just trying to troubleshoot a million things at once. And so it was a good work experience. It was a good life experience too. I had some pretty deep conversations with my coworkers. We had people from different backgrounds, so I had all kinds of faith conversations back there. It was a really interesting time.
Yeah, I remember just working out there, and like you had mentioned, this is in probably one of the richest neighborhoods in Houston. You're talking politicians, you're talking just old money, in Houston. That was the first time I saw a black card.
Oh yeah.
People would come up to the pharmacy and boom, drop a black card to pay for prescriptions. And then you hold you hold it, and it's just metal, heavy, feels amazing. People pulling up in Bentleys and Maseratis and
Yep.
whatnots.
Spending your entire year's paycheck on some prescriptions.
Yep. It was crazy, man. That was just a juxtaposition, and where we were there making what, like $10 an hour.
Yeah, something like it. It was some slave wages we're getting.
Yeah.
And then they'll give you a raise of like 25 cents and feel like they did something for you.
Yeah. It was crazy, man. But we were both there, at these points where, like you said, you weren't able to get, the job that you wanted, ideally. I wasn't able to get the job that I wanted, ideally. I'd been working at CVS, through undergrad, but
Yep.
from there on, why don't you, how did you get from there to, you got into medical school? What was that process of, how did you get from working at CVS to that?
All right, that's a long story, man. But I'll try. I try to hit the highlights. Um, so with CVS, I made a few connections. Like I
Okay.
said, I was real close with coworkers. There's a pharmacist there, an Egyptian guy, and he was really cool. Actually, my nickname for him was the Bishop because we used to talk about religion all the time, and he was a Coptic Christian, and so like we'll go back and forth talk about different forms of Christianity. And it was just like real cool conversations.
Yeah.
I had applied to med school and not gotten in, and so I had to reapply. And once I didn't get in, I was trying to look for something to help boost my resume. So I told him like, "Hey, I'm looking for research opportunities. Am I having luck? Can you help me?" And he had a friend who worked for a research organization, so he hooked me up with her number. I called her, talked to her. She sets up the interview, whatever, and I get the internship. However, it's an unpaid internship all the way in the northwest Houston, that Tomball area, like by 290. And I was driving an hour one way to this internship and back 3 days a week for no pay. So I was like pretty much losing money every day I went to that internship.
Yep.
And man, I remember some days I would drive like, Lord, I better get to that school doing all this. Driving in traffic, rushing, spend the whole day counting pills. It was like a phase 3 clinical trials. So like we were, we get the steady drug, see how much the patient took, mark it down, all that stuff, get their blood samples. And
Yeah.
it was a grind. That's where what my dad tells me, really kicked in. He's like, never give up. Because there were days when I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I just told myself, look, you have a goal, you have a dream, you always want to be a doctor since you're a little kid. Just keep pushing. And so I kept pushing. And another thing kind of connected to what we talked about, working at CVS, you saw successful people and you got pretty good advice. Like I don't know if you did, but like every once in a while I'll try to like talk to customers who were the ones that were willing to talk to you. Some just saw you as beneath them, and so they didn't really talk to you.
Yep.
But I talked to a couple, and they always talked about being in control of your finances, having a good career, and these kind of things I already knew about. But it had like an added emphasis because I could see just like the generational wealth that those people had. And I was like, no, I want to set my kids well, so I got to do something that is going to make sure that's going to make sure once I'm done with it, it gets me into a good stead financially. But also, I always had that desire to help people, and so that kind of combination, I think, lends itself well to a career in medicine.
That's awesome. Yeah, just getting through and going through just that struggle of you don't know if you're gonna get in. You're doing all these things, to try to increase your chances. I can't remember if I think I retook my PCAT. I was going through similar things. Getting letters from professors, letters of recommendations, and all
Yep.
this stuff, and working at CVS also just to get that experience. That
Yeah.
I definitely am not just to prove that you're not just some guy who's just trying to get into
Yeah.
you get into pharmacy school and become a pharmacist. No, you've been in the career already. At that point, like maybe 3-4 years. And so that's awesome. We definitely like I said, went through similar struggles. How did you get from there? I think you had told me that not only were you doing that, you were also doing another research
Yes.
gig.
Is that he reached out to two people. So that first lady got back to me. The other lady he reached out to was a radiologist at UT Memorial Hermann, and so I reached out to her, and she got me a research gig in her lab.
Nice.
So I had 2 unpaid research opportunities, which I was pretty doing like 5 days a week. So I did
Wow.
3 days at the one that was like an hour away, 2 days at the London Medical Center and worked CVS shifts.
Wow.
And so that was crazy, man.
Wow.
I was
Talk
definitely
about.
And at a certain point, I just said, hey guys, like, I told the folks that were like an hour away, I was like, I just can't do it anymore, because it was supposed to be like a 5-month internship. And I was like, once it hit 5 months on the calendar, I was like, hey, it's been 5 months. So I think that's no time. And then they were like, well, actually, what we meant was 5 months based off of like the days that you worked. And I was yeah, and I was only working 3 days a week. So technically, I was like, I think at 3 months at that time. And I was like, yeah, I was like, guys, that's not happening. I was like, you know what? I don't even need like the internship certificate, whatever you're going to give me. I'm just going to say I did my 5 months with 3 days a week, and that's good enough. So I quit that just because it was getting to be too much, and allowed me to focus on the research with a radiologist, and also still keep my CVS job, which was making me some money. Around that same time, I also started doing some videography with my brother, which is like another way I supplemented my income and also got to use some of my skills from college.
Nice. So you're juggling 2 unpaid internships doing research.
Yeah.
You're working at CVS, and you and your brother, of course, shout out to Afosa.
Yep.
You and Afosa were doing the videography kind of gig.
Yep. So yeah, a lot was going on, and we haven't been talking about church right now, so that was another thing.
Right.
It was
That's crazy. Why don't you talk about just the process of getting into med school from there and how that was?
Yeah. Sorry, bro. I think like you asked me like 3 times now. You like keep going.
No, you good, man.
After I did those research opportunities, I reapplied, and like the first time I applied, I got a lot of rejections. I got a couple of interviews. The University of Minnesota was one of the places I interviewed at the first time, but they put on their waiting list, and I never got the waiting list. I was actually number 4 on their waiting list when they started their classes, so that was like pretty hardcore harsh, being so close. So when I reapplied, I picked, I think I applied a little bit broader, and also reapplied to University of Minnesota. They were the last school that, their secondary was the last school secondary I completed in the process. So for those that don't know how med school applications work, you have first like a primary application, which is kind of like your general application where you select all the schools you want to apply to, and you pay. The more schools you select, the more you pay. So there's a little bit of a balance to how many schools you can apply to. You send those out, and then some schools send you secondaries. Actually, most schools send you secondaries. Some schools are selected at a point only send people that are interested in secondaries. But your secondaries kind of roll in, and as they roll in, you try and complete them. The University of Minnesota was the last secondary I did, just because I, at that time, felt like, okay, I don't necessarily want to go all the way to Minnesota, but last time they were pretty close to accepting me, so I think I have a good chance. Well, before I could complete that secondary, my uncle, who had been sick with cancer for some time, pancreatic cancer, actually passed away. It was 2 days before the secondary date closed. And bro, man, I was so heartbroken, man. Like I did not want to finish that, and at the time I was just generally feeling down either way because I was getting a lot of rejection letters again. So like your confidence low, you're like, man, can I really do this? He's like, God, help me out. And I was just so broken up by the whole situation. But I remember that he told me that, hey, you're gonna be a great doctor, you're gonna do great. He thought I was like the smartest kid ever. You know how some uncles are. And he was just like one of those uncles that's like a friend almost more than an uncle. And so because of him, I was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and just fill out this application. Like I'm like, if they reject me. So like I pretty much filled it out with not even that much of a difference from the previous year. I just kind of just, get it done, get it complete and turn it in. And I turn it in, and then 2 weeks later, they call me. And they're like, "Hey," or they email like, "Hey, you have an interview." And then they called me and they asked me if they could like pay my way up to the interview. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I'm not used to
Wow.
being this excited about being the med school process.
Yeah.
But I already had like bought my ticket, and they flew me up there. One thing that was kind of interesting though, around that same time, I had taken a group of high school kids to Austin for a Christian conference. And so that was like a really great experience. And at that conference, I had a chance just to like rededicate my life to God and refocus. And when I went for that interview, bro, like I was, you know, when you're like, I'm in the spirit, like I was in the spirit, bro.
That's what's up, man.
I was in the spirit, and God really showed up because I remember two things happened. So the first guy that interviewed me, he actually passed away not too long ago. Just, you know, I was pretty sad about that. But he was a PhD, a scientist in their family med department, and he just thought that everything I said that day was like the best thing he's heard. You know, I could have said the sky was blue, and he was like, "Oh, that's so intelligent. That's brilliant." Like, I actually felt that I was talking to this guy because I was just telling him about like my life story and answering questions. He was like, "Oh, that's so good." He was like, "This is amazing," and I was like, "Man, like, I really just want to say the sky is blue and see what he says." So I was like, "Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't risk it. Don't tempt God." You know.
Right.
You know, on the way out, like he was like giving me like conference materials. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're having a conference for residents, you know, in 2 months. You should come." And I'm like, "Dude, you give me like conference for residents? Like, I'm not even a med student yet. Like, hold on, brother." Like, you know, but I was so excited. Like, this is going really great. Then my second interview was by a fourth year med student. That same med student had been the second year, the first time I interviewed, and did my tour.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And so like I already had that connection, and like legit, no lie, for the first half of the interview, we talked just about sports.
Wow.
And then halfway through, it was like, "Oh yeah, I actually have to like ask you some like legit interview questions." And then he goes and asks me some like,
Yeah.
It was so chill. And I was just like so happy, man. I was like, "Oh man, I know I'm getting it. I know I'm getting it." So I went back home, and then I saw I got placed on the wait list. I was like, "Oh man."
Wow.
Yeah. I forgot what number I was on the wait list, but it wasn't as high as the first time. And so it kept going. And then around June, I think like the first week in June, I got off the wait list and got accepted.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so it was like, man, once I got off that wait list, I had to like move, like get everything in order, get all the financial paperwork, find an apartment, and bro, that's how I got to med school, man.
Praise God, man. Talk about favor.
Favor, man. Favor is not fair.
That's right. We're gonna pause for a second, and we'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Had to take a little break. But wow, you had just finished telling us about just that process of getting into med school, applying, interviewing, and how that went. That's amazing. Why don't we talk about a little bit of how did you, while you were going through this, you know, as difficult as it was, as long as it was, what were some things that kept you going? How did you keep pushing? How did you stay encouraged? I know you said your dad told you never give up.
Yep.
I know you mentioned your uncle and, you know, the encouragement that he would always give you, you know, about you becoming a great doctor. Why don't you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and you know, it's so important to have a good family support. Respect to those people out there who were able to get successful and don't have a strong family behind them. Like, I don't know how to do this. That's super tough. Like you said, I mentioned my dad's encouragement, mentioned my uncle's encouragement. Also, someone that was really key was my mom. At a certain point, I wanted to just quit. And I was like, I'm serving God. I was in the church. I was doing stuff as an usher, and became a minister at the church, and was leading like a young adult group. And I was like, this is really great, and I love serving God. I love being in the church. But my mom pulled me aside, and then we talked about it, and she said, "Hey, you can always be a pastor. You can always serve God, but you reach a different group of people when you become a doctor. And you're a doctor. You can always be a pastor later if you want to go back and be a pastor, but like being a doctor changes your reach." And she mentioned, my mom was funny. She's like, sometimes people look at pastors that don't have any like other form of education, think, oh well, that person became a pastor because that's all they can do. Not saying that's always true, but it made me think, and I was like, no, let me give this a try. Let me give this a try. And so, because of her encouragement, that's another reason why I was able to kind of push through with that second reapplication process.
That's awesome. It's funny how much parallels, our journeys have, because when I got through pharmacy school, before I went into pharmacy school, working at CVS, I also did research at Baylor, BCM. So I was doing that. I was doing CVS, and then you got on at some point, I think, after I left Baylor.
Yeah.
And then before I got accepted in the pharmacy school was when I actually got saved. And I'd always been in the church, but just didn't really have that personal experience. But then that's when I got saved, and I reached out to you. I reached out to a couple of other brothers, and
Yep.
and we started that. But um, I didn't know if I should continue going with pharmacy or going after pharmacy, because I think I got saved, and maybe 2 weeks later I got my acceptance in the pharmacy school, right? And they were like, okay, put your money, you have to reserve your seat. And so I was reserving, I was paying the deposits to reserve my seat, but not sure, and I was new, still very new in my faith journey, but trying to ask God for signs, and asking for putting out fleeces, and things like that. But I remember I went to Pastor Bio, and I was like, I asked him to say, I was just stuck on whether I should keep going towards that, or, well, now that I'm saved, I don't know if there's something else that God has for me that I should, pursue. I'd rather just pursue God, and I was young in that, and early in that journey, right? And I went to Pastor, and I was asking him, like, hey, I don't know. And he told me that pretty much the same thing that your mom told you. He was like, he feels like I should go, because in his almost exact words were, there could be people that would listen to you because of your education, and that platform that you would have as a pharmacist, that would not listen to you otherwise, or that wouldn't care, about whatever gospel message or whatever otherwise. So it's very interesting to hear that, your mom basically told you the same thing. But yeah, why don't we talk about just how, like you said, you were a minister. I was young in my faith, just really out, I don't want to say out there, but just, a young Christian. I knew you were for real, and so I reached out to you, and I reached out to Brother Ayo, little bro. And then it was me, you, Ayo, and you reached out to Josh.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about that a little bit? Because people don't really understand. People may not understand, like, what But yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that was just great, time of bonding as brothers. I had the church keys, and so I could, whenever we wanted to, just go open up the church, and we'll just have Bible study. We'll pray. We'll intercede. We got together, just breaking bread, encouraging each other. We had a couple of outreaches, actually. Myself and Joshua and Aya came through. You came through, I think, with the Brennan Sensors. Remember that group?
Vaguely.
Vaguely.
Vaguely. I might have came through maybe once. I can't really remember it.
Yeah, I think maybe once, because I remember it was more like me and Josh doing that stuff. But it was good times, man, and it was just really nice to, because I think it's important in our faith, and that's something I can touch on when we talk about med school and residency. It's important to us to have some form of community, and I think prior to med school and going to residency, I didn't realize how important that was. And I had it right there in Houston. It was just I had it with my church, I had it with you guys, and it was just like a great check and a great way to keep your faith burning and fervent.
Yeah, man. We were just some brothers who just loved God, and it was just us four, right? And it wasn't anything even formal or anything. I just reached out to you, reached out to Ayo, you reached out to Josh, and whenever any of us felt like, hey, we should get together, it was just a phone call, or text or whatever, and like, hey, let's get together and pray, and the fact that you had the access to the church, would just go there and just pray, Bible study, all that stuff. That was good. And you mentioned leaving and going to Minnesota. I experienced the same thing when I went to pharmacy school. Because when you don't have that community, it makes it very, 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 it's difficult. It's a lot more difficult without that.
And I would say I'm gonna say I didn't have that in Minnesota. Like, I had an actually pretty cool group of Christian friends that I made there. But med school is just a different beast. The schedule is different. Like you, and I didn't have the keys to the church. So it was really tough to connect as often, because you were studying for classes. You have all kinds of hours. Other people are busy, so folks can't always meet up. But even with that, I made pretty good friends and had a pretty solid friend group, and we were able to do small outreaches here and there through CMDA, which is the Christian Medical and Dental Association. And I formed some pretty good friends and some lifelong friends in that group.
That's awesome, man. That's amazing. I had a slightly similar experience. The school that I was going to, fine, I'm going now, right? Because God, God showed me some signs and, spoke to pastor. Yeah. But I called them and I was like, hey, is there some type of, organization, like Christian organization on the campus? And they were like, no, there isn't one. So I'm like, okay, I guess I got to start it. So I got there and basically started the CPFI chapter, which is Christian Pharmacist Fellowship International. It started out as just a Bible study. I just called it Nova Bible Study. And from there, we started that. We got the CPFI organization started and basically led that, 3 years until I had to go to on my rotations. But yeah, that community is important. Very important, man. How was med school?
Oh man, that was be so. That first semester of med school, in like one class, I remember we had 112 lectures, and I was like, one class. And I remember from undergrad, like the average undergrad class had like 30 lectures. So like one class was almost like 3 undergrad classes crammed into one.
Wow.
And we had like 3 of those and some extracurricular stuff on the side. You know, it was a histology, something called a SMP, which is like had molecular biology, had genetics and all this other stuff, nutrition, biochemistry all mixed in, and then also had human anatomy, and so it was real. The first day of med school, I had a cadaver, had the hand around my hip. I was dissecting the pectoralis
Oh,
major. So we jumped right in, and it was a lot. The trite analogy people say is it's like drinking water from a fire hose, and it doesn't stop. You get on that stream, and in some ways it's good because it just keeps pushing you forward. You gotta hang on, but like as long as you hang on, you're gonna get to the end.
yeah.
But I definitely saw that you have to stay focused because even my first semester, some things happened to friends that were like big blows, and so like I was like from that first semester, I was really focused. Like, hey, you gotta stay on this, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle. Like med school is not the easiest. But by God's grace, I made it through. Like I said, having those friends really helpful. Prayed a lot. Actually, there was kind of almost surrogate parents I got in Minnesota, and this is one why like I just kind of love people from all races because no one is self-made. A lot of people like to say, "Oh, no, I'm self-made this, self-made that." Like we all get help along the way. Yes, some people get a whole bunch of help from the parents, in terms of like money and stuff, and don't have to like work that hard. But I think even those people that have to work pretty hard, there's always a couple of people along the way to help you out. And so there's a couple that went to Duke for med school, and once they knew I went to Duke for undergrad, they took me under their wings. Lovely Caucasian physicians, and they just were my cheerleaders every step of the way. Checked on me, made sure I was doing okay. When I couldn't go home for Thanksgiving, they invited me over for Thanksgiving. They talked to my parents. It was great, man. It was great, and I really, really love and appreciate what they did in my life. And I had lots of people like that throughout med school. We had our head of our diversity office at the med school, a lovely lady, Miss Tate. She would go out of her way to make sure that you had whatever you need. You just wanted to just hang out and talk in her office. Her door was always open.
Yeah.
And I really learned just how important having those support structures were in med school. And so that was actually a consideration for when I went to residency. I was like, man, I need to find a program where I can have some of that same dynamic, where the support of the people in the program is there, or at least I can find some support in community there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Excuse me, that's definitely important. I had, similar experiences as far as, for me it was, kind of people in the church, people within the community, the Nigerian community, wherever you go, you're bound to find, some nice aunts and uncles that are in the community, and the mothers within that still take you, will accept you as one of their own.
Yeah.
That's definitely very, very helpful.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna just jump in there and say like another thing that was helpful was keep myself involved in the things of God. So while we had that Bible study, my friend, actually who became my roommate for 3 years, me and him and a couple other friends started an outreach called Yo-Yo. People say YOLO, but we kind of played on it yo-yo. So instead of you only live once, it was you're only young once. And
oh, nice.
we were reaching out to kids in inner city St. Paul, and just trying to give them like role models and give them a vision of what their life could be that was more than what they saw. It was the hood, man. We were in there, folks were like making drug deals.
Wow.
The police were always coming in and out. and we were just want to talk to these kids. It took us a while before we got any kids. We like met and prayed probably for like 3 months with just a few kids coming by and checking out the church location we're in. And after praying a lot, finally we started getting a little bit more headway, and we'll get like a couple of kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids, and it just kind of grew from there till it was a thing. And then everyone in the neighborhood kind of knew about us, and so like no one like bothered us. We never felt threatened. People just knew that we were there to help out the kids. And
Wow.
doing that was just like another, source of just joy, and you felt like you're making a difference. Sometimes, in med school, going through professional school, you can feel like you're just grinding really hard and, being very, very self-focused and focused on trying to become this professional. But having that outlet was a way where I was like, okay, I'm not just waiting until I have the skills to make a difference, but I'm actually making a difference right now.
Right. That's awesome, man, to be able to do that and just really just, start, wherever you are, reach out. There's always somebody that you can pour into, mentor, and yeah, just inspire, help out along the way. That's amazing, man. How was residency, transitioning from there into residency?
Man, residency was, I think residency was even harder than med school, but the application process was a lot easier. The way I said it's like, apply to med school is like you are begging to be let in the club. He's like, please take me, please. I am great. I'll jump through as many hoops set up for me. Please take me. Residency is kind of like dating. It's like, do you like me? Do I like you? Do we match? And it's literally called the match. I don't know if you remember that. But it's like a process where we have to put in a rank list. So the residency that we like the most, we rank number 1, and then we go all the way down to the many we want to rank.
Right.
And then they have their own list behind the scenes where they rank applicants. And then if you match up with the program, you get to go there. And so I ended up in Cincinnati, which was where I wanted to go.
Nice.
It itself was probably not where I wanted to end up, but the program was so good that I was like, I had to choose them as my first choice regardless, because like I had a couple other nice cities. Like I had Houston on my list, I had Chicago, I had LA, I had Denver. And I was like, oh man, like all those other cities, like I really wanted to go to, but the person in Cincinnati just like I connected with with the program director there, both the assistant program director and the main program director, and people are genuinely nice. The funny thing is, the day before my interview there, Trump had a rally.
Oh. Wow.
So yeah, it was kind of cray, man. Flying in there with a Trump rally going on. Oh my goodness. But it worked out. And like I mentioned earlier, the thing that really brought me there was that I could see that it was a place that would be supportive. And I knew from that was like pretty important. So I didn't want to go somewhere where I'd feel disconnected and just not part of the residency program.
Right. That's awesome, man. You said that's kind of, getting in was easier, but it was the intensity of the program was even more difficult than med school.
Yeah, because in med school you have a decent amount of time to study. That's like, especially the first 2 years is your primary job. The second 2 years you're doing rotations, but still, as a med student, the hours that you're doing rotations are not the same that the residents do. Your residency, you are the resident, so you're doing those hours now,
Right.
If someone got to stay late, that's you, You're
right.
doing 24-hour shifts, you're doing night shifts, and some weeks you're working 80+ hours, and it can be a lot. And it definitely like ebbs and flows, but each year is a little bit different. So first year is hard because everything's new.
Right.
In our program, second year is hard because second year is when you start doing call. And you have the most calls. Let me residency second year. And then third year is a little bit different because, okay, you've been through everything And you at that point you've probably beat them so much you don't care as much. But but you're just like, I know what it is. Let's ride this out. And here I am at the end of the third year, and thank God I made it through.
Thank God, man. So it's a 3. I thought it was a 4-year. Residencies are usually 4 years.
Oh, it depends on the specialty. So I went to pediatrics. So pediatrics is 3 years. Internal medicine's 3 years. Things like oncology, med peds are like 4 years. So it just depends on which specialty you choose.
Nice. And now you're a big. You're at the end of it. You graduated, and you just took an attendant job.
Yeah.
So, congrats on that, man. About to be a big attendant. Don't forget. Yeah. Don't forget the people that.
Hey, Osagie, like Mr. Bobby used to say, that's why we earn the big bucks.
Hey, just don't forget the people that helped get you there when you got there, man. Don't forget your pharmacist friends and your old church buddies.
Hey, man, I'm not uppity like that, bro.
Nah, I'm messing with you, man. But when I have my kids, I know who I'm gonna be calling in the middle of the night. Like, hey, the kid is vomiting. She's got this or that or whatever's going on. I got you on speed dial, bro.
On speed dial. I'm like, what's your copay? Now
bro, don't do me like that. Oh man. That's amazing. No, it's crazy. There's just the amazing things that just you're doing, and you guys are doing. I'm definitely hats off to you, man. We definitely came from a long way.
Oh yeah, a long way. And it's funny, we're talking about this, and we are condensing 10 plus years into a 1 hour segment or so. And that's crazy, man. And when if I'm going through like everything, and thinking of just how many times God came through. I mean, one thing we even touch on is all the financial struggles. Like, bruh, there was so many times. Well, let me back up from before med school, like undergrad. My senior year, going to my senior year of undergrad, I was short $20,000 in tuition.
Wow.
And God came through, bro. Like, I remember I was just praying. I was like, God, if you own a cattle on 1,000 hills, all of that belongs to you. So, if I need money, I should have asked you for it and get it. And so I was like, Lord, help me to get a student loan, because that's what I was thinking at first. And then I thought about it. I was like, wait, no. God owns 1,000 hills, so He has the money. Why am I asking for a loan? I was like, Lord, I don't want a loan. I want it to be paid off. I just want a free gift. I just want someone to give me 20 grand and get it paid off. I don't know where it's coming from, but I trust you. And so we started the year, and my dad called me and was like, look, I've given what I can for the year. You need to go apply for loans to cover the rest. And I said, okay. And this was like around the time of the financial crisis, right? Because I graduated in 2009. So it's like summer 2008 when the crisis was like hot. And banks were not lending out money for nothing. I was getting rejected left, right, and center. I was trying to get folks to co-sign. People were giving on co-sign, which isn't very understandable. And my mom reached out to her friend to ask the co-sign. And they were like, you know what? We're not a co-sign, but we can give you a personal interest-free loan. And I was like, cool. And this is the middle of financial crisis. Like, who gives you a loan for $20,000 in the middle of financial crisis? So they paid me the money. I was able to pay it off. And then a week or two after I had paid off my tuition, this was in the second semester in January. I still remember this because I was in my genomics class, putting together some contigs, just little short DNA sequences of Drosophila flies, doing some computer science and biology. And
go ahead and throw that bio lingo in there.
just a little bit. And so my mom calls me and was like, hey, so and so said that the money that they loaned you, you don't have to pay back as a free gift.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. I was like, did I just get 20 grand like that?
Wow.
And it was so funny because God had answered the prayer the way I prayed it, because I prayed for a loan first. So I got a loan first. And then thank God I was smart enough to trust God for more than just a loan and say, actually, God, I want not to have to pay that back.
Yeah.
And then that's how he answered it. And I was just like blown away. And bro, so many times in medical school, like I'll have my rents due and I'll need money or something, and it'll just like come in just in time. It was,
Wow.
bro, I can't tell you how many times God did that in med school, in undergrad. Residency is a little bit better because you actually had paid the residency. So I was able, for the most part, to go on top of things, but I still had a lot of tightness, or not a lot, but occasional tightness financially.
Right.
But God wrapped up everything. I mean, everything I wanted to do, even making some dumb mistakes financially, God was still able to help me get to where I am now. And it's start of a new beginning.
That's awesome, bro. God is good, man. And I mean, we got to throw this out there because we're from Houston, but the whole, a great philosopher, the great American philosopher by the name of Michael Jones once said back then, but no, that wrong philosopher. Who am I thinking? No, the great Canadian philosopher by the name of Aubrey Graham.
Yeah, that was from Bob now. Yeah.
Now we here.
Whole crew's here.
Hey, little humor.
Yeah.
No,
I think I know where you're going with this, but go on, bro. Go on.
Nah, man, just that's awesome. But speaking about the great philosopher from the city of Houston,
yeah,
Michael Jones. Let's segue a little bit into now we're I started my career, young man.
Yeah.
You started in residency. We got into med school, started in residency, and
Mm-hmm.
eligible bachelors. Yeah, I just made that up, bachelors. And I remember definitely trading stories with you many times. I know for the majority of your of med school and all of that, for you were in a relationship, but then why don't you tell us about after that?
After that, yeah. So
your wild bachelor years.
Oh my goodness. They're not that wild, buddy. But yeah, after I got out of a long-term relationship here in residency, yeah, I started trying to date. And in residency, you don't have a lot of time, and going to the clubs, I mean, it was never really my thing. I mean, I think the only time I had fun like going to clubs and undergrad, like when I went with friends, like going by yourself and then trying to engage in that whole social posturing was just not really my thing. And then plus as a resident, you don't just have time for that nonsense. And plus you can't be seen in places like that and things going down that can affect your career. So I started online dating because I was like, hey, you can do it between shifts. You can control the pace of things, and in our
hold on, bro. Who told you about online dating? You're not gonna not give me my credit here. And I've been online dating. I think before you even got into residency.
Was it you though? Was it you?
Either way, go on, continue.
Yeah. Maybe it was you, man. My bad if I don't remember, but I know I got on that ship, and I had Bumble and Coffee and Bagel and all that stuff, Christian Mingle, and you would think it's easy, quote unquote as a doctor to like online date, but I think the way online dating is, it's skewed towards women, and it's just the nature of things. But I went on a good number of dates. Bro, why look at me like that?
I didn't say nothing, bro. I didn't say nothing.
So I went on a good number of dates, and I just was trying to find someone I was compatible with. So I had like some simple rules for myself. I had like the 3-date rule. So if I went on 3 dates with somebody, then I stopped at least for that time period talking to other girls, because before that I'm like, look, if we're just talking, I don't have a lot of time because I used to talk on my less busy rotation. So if I'm on the kill rotation, I don't have a lot of time to be talking to people on online dating. But more relaxed rotation, then hey, it's fair game. So I was on relaxed rotations, I would like talk to like 2 to 4 girls at a time, and if I went on 3 dates with one, then I would like kind of stop and see if things were going further, and they wouldn't. But just in the process of like doing that, along the way, I think I got caught up in the just
I ain't saying nothing, bro.
I got caught up in just the whole, I don't say lifestyle, but just focusing on finding somebody. And when you're scrolling, like a lot of times you're focusing just what's on the physical aspect of women versus like getting a better understanding of their personality. And I had to check myself after I had the one relationship that was a little on the crazy side, and I was like, whoa, like, I need to kind of recalibrate and go back to my roots. Like I said, my relationship with God is so important to me, and I said I have to give God ownership over this aspect of my life. And so once I did, then I recalibrated. I wasn't expecting this quickly, but God just kind of like opened my eyes. Someone from Canada messaged me. Actually, it wasn't my first message from Canada, but one of my messages from Canada, and I looked at her profile, and the things that she said, she was like, she loved God. She's looking for someone that loves God too, and she just has a wholesome presentation. And I was like, you know what? That's the kind of girl that I would like to marry. Like just even in theory, because she put the emphasis where emphasis needs to be in, which is on the inner person. And so seeing that, and obviously she was cute too. So that's a must.
Hey.
And so seeing that, I was like, let me talk to her. I really want to do a long distance relationship because I had done that for prior relationships, and that can get hard. But I was like, let me just talk to her. Like, it doesn't hurt to talk and see where things go. And we started talking, and the conversation was just easy. I was not forcing anything. Things were flowing. And the funny part is that English is not her first language. Her first language is French. And we were just having this great conversation, and then over text, and then I was like, hey, let's Skype. And we Skyped, and the first time we Skyped, she was so cute. She was super shy because she was scared that I would judge her English. And I was like, look, relax. I'm not the kind of guy. Just speak to me. And she was speaking, her English was good, and we just kept talking, and things were great. And we're connecting over music. We're connecting over worldview. We were connecting over just different things, bro. And it was it actually changed my mind, because I think in the process of dating so much, I almost felt myself kind of regressing and thinking, well, women have just a certain way of presenting, and they always have some kind of attached baggage that you have to deal with as a man. But with her, the relationship was so easy, and there was no kind of hidden agenda in it. It was just hey, this is how I feel, this is how we feel, and it was almost autopilot.
Wow.
It was, and I don't know if I'm doing it justice, but it was kind of just unexpected, because if you ask me, a couple of years ago, hey, do you see yourself with a French-speaking Canadian as your long-term partner? Like, I'm like, well, not really,
Right.
but that's exactly what God did, and it was just like confirmed, I went over to go see her like after about a month. They've been talking. Another big leap of faith. I got on that plane and flew to Canada first time, and there's always that moment, right? Because like you've been seeing her on Skype, and you're like, I hope she looks as good on Skype, looks good in person as she does on Skype. And so when I first saw the airplane,
Catfish.
Like, I was like, okay, not catfish. Like, okay. Did not waste a whole bunch of money. And so it was cool. It was cool. And we drove from Montreal to her place, which is about an hour out of Montreal. So kind of funny aside. So she's Caucasian, as you know. And we're driving down like this long, dark road, and we're going through like farmland and stuff, and they could be like deer running around. And my mind went to like Get Out. For a split second, I was like, man, I need Rodney on speed dial. So
man, you didn't tell me that story. You never told me that.
I never told you that.
Yeah,
so she hadn't seen Get Out, so she couldn't get the joke. And I explained it to her later, but I was like, for a split second, I was like, I hope I'm not going to the second place,
Yeah.
But yeah, I went out to her place. We hung out for about 3 days, and it went really well. And then I left, and then next thing you know, she's coming back here to Cincinnati. We hung out. Next time we're in Chicago with my brother, hanging out. And next thing you know, she's at here with my family at Christmas and meets some of the family. Yeah. And the crazy thing is that actually 2 months into a relationship, I realized that I wanted to marry her.
Whoa.
But yeah, because I like saw all the signs. Like she checked all the boxes, Everything that needed to be checked was checked. She was fine. She loved God. She was intelligent, and we could have like good, serious conversations. And the craziest thing to me is like I had the best communication with her than I've ever had in a relationship. And English was our first language. Like that's just something that blows my mind. Like, I have to learn a little French,
That's what's up.
Un petit peu, just a little bit.
Excuse my French.
And she has a big family. The family was great. And so 2 months after, she met my parents, and actually that Christmas, I told my parents, hey, this is the deal. And actually, I asked her dad when I met her dad over that December time, in French actually, funny enough, if he was okay with me marrying his daughter. So she didn't know that, but no, I did behind her back.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said, yeah.
Hey.
Meet me for the first time, man. He was like, yeah, I'm ready. Take her.
Wow.
He said all that extra part, but he said, yeah, that it was okay to marry his daughter. And so I proposed February 2nd. Was that 2018? Whew. Wow. Yeah. Man, yeah. Wow.
Wait, was that 2018 really?
2019.
Because I'm like, well, like.
No, 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoot. Thanks, bro.
Jeez, really, bro? We're gonna have to edit this so your wife, so your fiance doesn't get on you for not remembering.
She's good though. Hey, I remember the date. Actually, the month and day is more important. So we got engaged, and COVID's kind of messing up with the wedding plans. We haven't moved stuff around, but we should be getting married pretty soon here. So we're doing a traditional in September, and then we'll do the white wedding in April. So,
hey man, shout out to you all. Shout out to the lovely couple. You know, you and your fiance. You know, it's funny, and the reason why I checked you on that date was because I remember when you actually called me and told me about her.
oh yeah, yeah.
Initially, like when you first met her on whatever site you were
It
on.
was a Christian mingle.
Right, I
Usually
remember.
I have the corny line that I was I'm Christian. I was ready to mingle, but I was going to I was going to spare that.
No, it's I remember this was probably about this time 2 years ago, June, July,
Exactly right. Yeah, it was July.
because I was talking to somebody at that point. I had just met somebody that I was dating. Let's put it that way. And you,
Let's put it that way.
let's put it that way. You know, that's what it was.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead,
had just
bro.
met somebody that I was dating, and you had just met her, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
and there was a lot of parallels again, like between the person that I was dating and uh, this person that you just met, who would go on to be your fiance.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, we had just so I remember when you called me though, and you called me, you're like, man, like I just met this girl. You know, she's in Canada, and I remember I told you don't do it.
Uh,
Remember that?
I remember that now. Yeah, this dude here.
No. All right. Let me explain.
Everyone trying to block my blessing.
No. Let me explain. All right. Let me explain. Because when you told me she was in Canada, you told me she was
Yeah.
French Canadian. You told me she spoke French. You know,
Yep.
I'm like, bruh, like you can't find somebody in Cincinnati. You can't find someone in Ohio. Like you can't find. But to your credit, I remember that you also told me about some dates that you had gone on.
Yep.
That I even remember you had told me about this Nigerian girl, all right, that you had met, and that didn't go well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that story?
Oh, bro, man. Why go?
No, because
I
it
will.
adds context to why it adds context as to really why you were willing to really step out and you know
Yeah, yeah. So I like his and tell, but since
you
we're
know
on the
guys,
spot,
yeah.
I'll tell a little bit. I'll tell a little bit. So yeah, it was a pretty nice girl I met here, and I thought things were going well, but I think I probably misread the way things were going. We we actually like went to church and then had like a conversation afterwards. And I think some things I said in that conversation about how I expect the relationship to go didn't merge with kind of like her vision of how she wanted things to go. I think she thought I was maybe a little bit overly spiritual, and so because of that, that kind of led to us kind of breaking up after a couple of dates. And I was kind of bummed out about it because I was like, man, things are going well. Like, she checked all the boxes and blah, blah. But, with
Because I
that,
remember that conversation too, because you were like, man, you met this girl at
mhm,
whatever the restaurant or whatever, and she was fine, blah blah
yeah,
blah. And then a couple of maybe a week or two or whatever later, you were like, man, she didn't, she wasn't really cool with kind of how you felt you needed to just serve God within within the relationship.
yeah, yeah. And so like, it's and the thing is, right, I'm not even mad at that, right? Like maybe in the moment I was, but when I look back, and even with like all my relationships, I'm happy for them, because
Yeah.
they all taught me something, and those were not the women for me,
Right.
Um, finding someone like Andrienne, she just like she fits, you know.
Right.
Where I'm weak, she's strong, you know, and where she's weak, I'm strong. And so we just complement each other. Like her flaws, I can deal with. My flaws, she can deal with, you know, and so
That's
the
what's
other,
up.
you know, I couldn't deal with their flaws, they couldn't deal with my flaws, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have learned not to be bitter or not to, you know, I don't want to put down any woman, you know, because
Right.
they're going to find someone who matches up with them. You know, I think it's
Right.
easy when you look at relationships, because you look at relationships from your perspective. That's just, you know, the human condition. I think it's easy when you're in relationships to feel like this other person didn't make it work, you know. But when you find what's yours, then you kind of understand that those relationships were not meant to work.
Right. That's what's up, man. And that's kind of what I realized, you know, because like I said, I was dating somebody, and me and you both started dating. Um, this, you know, your fiance, and me, my last relationship.
Yep.
And
Speaking of Lynn, she's actually texting me right now. Let me just text her real quick. Let her know I'm doing the interview.
no, you're good, but I'll keep on going.
Hey, yeah, keep talking, bro.
You know, so we met these two wonderful ladies at about the same time. Yours is in Canada. Mine is mine is coming from Mexico. You're learning French. I'm brushing up on my Espanol. And actually, yeah, and actually both, you know, they were both in school studying nursing, right?
Yep.
Both, yeah, and so that was just an amazing parallel. I felt, but the thing is that I never felt like it was just that complementary fit like you felt with Andrienne. Amazing girl, amazing woman.
Yeah, bro. You know, with that, right? I'll even shout out like my first ever girlfriend. Well, not first ever, but like my first like serious relationship. You know, one thing she told me like when we were breaking up, I think the second time because like we did 2 separate times. You know, she said that how she put it, she didn't feel the spark. I think it's like the way she put it, but that she didn't feel like, I guess the best way I can translate it is like she didn't feel like enamored with me, you know. And
there's that chemistry that chemistry,
yeah,
right? That
yeah.
Hollywood is sold.
Well, it's not Hollywood. Okay, I'll be a little bit careful on that. So it's not quite like Hollywood, but I would say with Andre, like I see that it's like though she looks at me in such a way that I'm like, man, like this woman would die for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I got like no doubts, you know.
Yeah.
And it's different, right? Because like sometimes and what we're really talking about is love. Because when you're in a relationship, you can tell when someone's like willing to sacrifice for you, you know, willing to go that extra mile. Like you always have a balanced relationship, but like you can see when someone's putting their needs ahead of yours or putting your needs ahead of theirs. And that's the thing I see with her is like she is like 100% bought in, you know. And I mean, because think about it, right? She's French Canadian, and she is willing to leave her family, her culture, her country to come live with me here in the States. You know,
Wow.
No hesitation.
Right.
I mean, that's something. That's something.
Yeah, no,
And you know, I didn't have to like coach her or tell anything. Like, you know, she calls me her king, and she's respectful.
Bruh. You have a sister? Does she have some friends or something?
she got sisters, but they all taken, bro.
Oh man, I told you at that wedding, man. You better try to hook me up with some of them bridesmaids or something. I'm kidding.
Her sisters are her bridesmaids, buddy. So.
Jeez, you're killing me, man. Jeez.
Hey, I'm sorry, man. Hey.
Hey, we might when we have like the bachelor party or something. Maybe I can get her to send over some friends from somewhere. I don't know. We'll try to hook you up. That's all I'm saying. We'll try to
Figure it out. Figure it
I
out.
got you. We'll talk about that offline.
Nah, that's a joke. I'm kidding.
Yo.
Man, but that's amazing, man. Just talking about love, and finding, you're the one, the queen, and that's a beautiful thing. Again, shout out to her. Shout out to the beautiful couple, couple, and in your marriage life to be, soon as we get that done, and hey, happy for you, man. Definitely happy for you. Been with you every step of the way, man, and
Oh yeah, you sure have. And another thing too, and this could be like a good segue, is now that we've been together for a while, I'm actually really happy about like who she is. One thing that's I think is important to touch on, because I think I mentioned this earlier, especially given kind of what's happening in society right now with George Floyd, and really, society recognizing the injustice done to Black people. I've found that like my anger about all that is kind of tempered with knowing my wife, or wife to be, I should say, in that I can only be so angry at white people. I actually do talks on diversity and racial discrimination for my residency program. So I've given a talk every year.
And why is it that you've done these talks? Just throw that out there.
Bro. I mean, I've given them because I've volunteered. It just so happens also that I'm the only Black dude in the program, but
Hey, you're out there representing, man.
But I think it's important, right? Because who has an interest in having these things addressed but us? If it doesn't get addressed, we're the ones that suffer.
Mm-hmm.
I think white people suffer too, but it's in a different way that is maybe not as apparent. But we're the ones that suffer the most visibly from it. So I think it's in our interest to address, and that's why I was like, you know what? Even though it's cliche, when you're the only Black dude to like raise your hand and say, "Hey, let me tackle this." But we also have some great other great residents in our program who've stepped up too, from different cultures, who've taken that mantle to talk about diversity. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm the only one at the program talking about diversity. I just had the privilege of giving a specific lecture on how to combat implicit bias for the last 3 years. And one of the things I talk about is something I call SPICE, which kind of spells out, an acronym. Now I have to remember all of it. But S is like spend time with others. P is like take their perspective. I is like individualize the people. C is to have like counter cultural examples, and E is to to expose those examples to other people. So you kind of have to share it with others. And so I think even for us as Black people, or whatever culture you're from, I think it's important to even use those strategies. I think for us it's easier, right? Because we're in minority culture, you almost of necessity have to have some relationship with majority culture. But I found having her with me, I'm able to kind of talk to her about these racial issues and learn from her perspective, as well as like teach her my perspective, and it helps keeps me grounded, right? And also my faith. I think this is super important too, because in the context of Christianity, there's one human race. Certainly speaking, I think a lot of times people get focused on like, well, I'm Black, I'm white, and so like we can get drawn into the silos. And these are silos that God didn't create. These are silos that we created as men. And then we reinforce them, through the power of government. I mean, that's the whole idea of systemic racism. I don't think we can just say, okay, well, no, we're not going to talk about black or white anymore. That's going to magically make race go away. No. But I do think that we have to think, okay, what's the end goal? And when we look at Revelations, it talks about people from every tribe, every nation, every tongue, standing together before God's throne, praising him. And so if I believe that, then the goal is for all men to be reconciled in Christ. And so I can't then push away any culture. I can't then push away any people because, Christ died for all. And I think that kind of perspective and having her be able to check me from going to a place where I'm just angry at all white people, is really good. And that's why, you have to have those examples in your life. And so I talked about, the family in med school to help me out. And I know a lot of, doctors in my residency program, who are Caucasian, have been amazing. And you have to remember those examples, especially when we see things like George Floyd. We do need to change the system. But I think in changing the system, we have to realize what we're changing it to, or we change it to a system where we're all together, or are we trying to change to a system where we're separate?
That's good perspective, brother. That's real good perspective, and especially with you actually living in Minnesota because of med school for a few years.
I was in there 4 years in Minnesota, Minneapolis.
And shout out to your alma mater, because they actually, one of the things that they did in combating that is they terminated a lot of the contract that they have with the police department.
Oh, they terminated the contract with the police department, period. So police departments, male police department can't work for them right now, which is really amazing. Actually, one of my homeboys' little sister, one of my med school classmates' little sister, was their student body president and pushed the university president to take that stance. And I was like, wow, I was just really proud that, the students could really rise up and affect that kind of change.
That's awesome. Advocacy and what that can do. And, I know we've talked about, some other things, similar offline, but no, it's a great perspective, that you have. Shout out to the movement, Black Lives Matter.
Yep.
We'll keep pushing it. I'm not out there protesting per se, but I'm providing aerial support.
Aerial support.
Sending out anybody needs prescriptions and, trying to keep everybody safe with COVID and all that stuff. But no, definitely support the movement, support the cause, as Black men, African American men in the most, in every sense of the word. It is our responsibility and our duty to change culture, right? To change culture and to push the culture forward, so that things like that don't happen anymore, and so that we don't have to continue living in this type of society where where things like that happens. But we're running a little long on here. I know the wife to be has hit you up. Just in wrapping up, any just closing thoughts that you want to leave with anyone that may be still listening, either people aspiring to be where you're getting to, where you are, where you've gotten to, where you're gonna get to, people going through their own challenges, people trying to get into whatever, chase their dreams, but maybe may not see the way forward, or may not see fully how they can get there. any just thoughts on what you can say to encourage anybody?
Sure. First, no, thank you so much, Messiah, for spending this time with me and thinking enough of me to invite me to your podcast.
Hey, don't mention it, doctor.
The first thing I'll say is that if you made it this far, man, props to you. Like, I appreciate you on this our conversation. As far as life advice, man, I don't feel like I'm old enough to give like sage like life advice. But the thing I'll say is, put God first. If there's anything that's I've regret along the way, are the times that I didn't put God first. Because the truth is that God is always coming through for me. I mean, and even when I didn't put him first, like he can't deny himself. He still came through. And I think there's been like a lot of anxiety and worry in the journey that I probably could have saved if I just said, "Hey God, I trust you in this process." Because every time I've just been like, "Hey God, I trust you," he just comes through every single time. And don't give up. I think those are two things. So put God first and don't give up. The Bible says that, if we don't faint, we'll have our reward in due season. And so I think that, one thing I've told myself is like, no matter, what happens, no matter how I stumble, no matter what I go through, like, just keep pushing, And that's the thing that I think has really got me here is that I just refuse to take no for an answer. Got rejected from med school once, replied the second time, almost got rejected, still got in. Ups and downs in med school, ups and downs in residency, but just never have taken no for an answer. I know where I'm trying to go. And so I push towards that. So you have to have a goal. And if you have that goal, stick on it, fix on it. I had people, even from undergrad, I had some professors saying, "Hey, why do you think I go to med school? You should go to anthropology grad school, you should do this, do that." Or even further back, I remember even like in middle school, I had a teacher tell me I was not going to, become anything in life. And you just can't listen to distractors. Like you can't listen to your detractors. You just have to keep pushing and say, "I have this goal. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to trust God all the way." And with that, God will get you where you need to be.
Amen, brother. That's amazing. That's amazing. Again, thank God for where He's brought us from. It's been a long journey, man.
Yeah.
10 plus, 15 plus years. I've been thinking about this myself lately. Just reflecting. We finished from undergrad 11 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So we got into, that means we got in 15 years ago, and yeah. Yeah. So it's been a journey. It's been a heck of a journey.
Bro, you old, man.
Hey. You're not that far behind, brother. You're not that far behind. But no, man, we've been down for quite a while, man. Just pushing through those days. Struggling.
Man, now some days I feel like Rick Ross, man.
Every day I'm hustling. But yeah, man, even, hey, you gotta, even not just that, going to church, and then also, you remember we used to hit the gym together?
Bro, you gonna bring that up right now? I should put you on blast, man. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Say it, man. Nah, man. We were.
Yeah, actually, you put yourself on blast. You put yourself on blast.
Hey, we're still getting there, man. But we, working on those gains.
Yeah,
hey.
my game. I was doing real good on my gains, but the songs I'd be on their phone, and my gains had to take a back seat for a couple of months.
No, we were, I was spotting you, right? And
yeah,
on the bench.
On the bench.
I don't know what happened. I was checking my phone or something, and
Yeah.
and you almost died.
Oh man.
My bad. But
Oh
no,
man.
man, we came a long way, man. We're coming a long way.
Yeah.
Praise God. And you know, it's been a heck of a journey, man. Can't wait for the next 15 years. You
Oh,
know,
that's true. Oh man. There might be a few kids involved in that one.
kids, you know, who knows what, you know,
Yeah.
you're taking this attendant position, but you probably start your own practice or something.
I don't know, man. Well, we gotta see what the future holds, man. Future's in God's hands.
Yep. But yeah, man, thank you, bro. I really appreciate you taking time. You know, been wanting to get you on it, and just, you know, being open to just share about, you know, your life, your journey, your struggles, your battles, you know, and then, you know, even your relationship, and your beautiful fiance.
Yep.
So shout out to her. Hey, Andrienne. And, but no, man, thanks a lot. It was definitely a pleasure to have you on, man. And, maybe we'll come back and do a part 2 sometime soon.
Hey, we gotta do part 2, man. Maybe when I'm out in the country.
Life as an attendant, what that is.
Yeah.
But
include the then wifey in at that
yeah,
point. Yeah.
love it. Would love to. Yeah.
And maybe we can even talk more detail about the relationship. That way,
Hey.
she can add her own, part in it, and that's look like I'm just making stuff up, man. Because like,
Hey.
bro, it was crazy, man. It was just the whole start of the relationship, man. Like I had never experienced anything like that, bro.
Yeah, I know. We'll save that for part 2. Let us know, viewers, if that's something you would like to hear, like to, you know, like for us to get the soon to be wife on there, and we'll dissect all of that. But no, thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure. This is Fisayo. This is Highlighting Greatness. Thank you.